Now welcome to another lightning response video, where this time we're going to take a question that deals with one of my favorite sort of Star Wars topics, one I know I've covered a few times before, but it's one I really enjoy digging into, so let's give it another quick go here. Anyway, the question itself comes to us from Leor, who asked, "Hey Thor, so this has been on my mind for a while. Do you think that the story of Anakin / Darth Vader goes about expressing the meaning of redemption in the right way? He murdered countless amounts of people over decades, and then, to save his son, he kills Palpatine and then he dies. My issue with this is that using one good act, a selfless one at that, after so many terrible ones and then dying is often used as redemption. He kills so many children throughout his life, but turns back to the light to save his own child. It's disgusting. What's the message here? It was the same thing with how terrible and racist Billy was in Stranger Things. And he does one good thing and dies, and I'm supposed to perceive that as redemption. This logic ignores the pain these characters cause. It tries to ignore the effort it takes to heal anything. It ignored the macro of Anakin's actions. I would have liked it more if he had lived and showed audiences of all ages the work it takes to heal yourself and the pain you've caused. Taking real accountability. I don't feel he earned becoming a Force ghost. That one act did not change the dense ocean of inner conflict he had endured, in my opinion. It was the beginning of it. Okay, so first of all, if we're talking real world, I agree with pretty much everything you're saying here. I don't think it'd be possible, given everything Anakin Vader did, to ever find virtually any level of redemption, especially because of the killing the children part. I mean, it's widely regarded that pretty much the worst thing you can do as a human being is anything wrong to a child. Those type of criminals also tend to be thought of as the lowest of low and get treated accordingly in prison. And so, just what we see out of him in Revenge of the Sith, just him slaughtering a room full of kids in cold blood, if that were the real world, there would be no sane, logical, or moral person who would ever consider redemption a possibility for him. There's just no coming back from something like that. That said, we do have to keep a few very important things in mind. The first of which is that Star Wars is, obviously, it's a fictional story meant to teach us a thing or two about, well, many different things. But among them, it teaches us about how selfish decisions can have some serious negative repercussions, both for ourselves and for others. Along with this, it also teaches us, and this has always been one of my biggest takeaways from Darth Vader's story, or Anakin's story, but it teaches or shows us that no matter what else you may have done, no matter how many wrong turns or poor decisions or even intentionally bad or harmful things you may have done, you can still make the right choice. You can still do or be better than you were. And in turn, we ourselves can try to be a bit more forgiving of those who wrong us, especially when they do make the very conscious choice and effort to be better, to try and make up for the previous wrongs. Which, like I was just saying, doesn't mean we here in the real world ever forgive someone who did a fraction of what Darth Vader did. But there are certainly people who have made mistakes or done bad things that deserve a second chance. Because yeah, we all make mistakes. We all hurt people, sometimes intentionally and sometimes accidentally. And what makes you a truly good person is not achieving perfection and never hurting anyone, but instead recognizing and owning up to your mistakes that do hurt others and wanting to make them right and seeking not to repeat them if possible. And Anakin or Vader's story, along with Luke's, is a very extreme example of that, let's say. And the only reason it works, despite us never feeling an ounce of sympathy for someone who had done, again, a fraction of what Vader had done in the real world, is because we know it's just a story. We know Anakin didn't really kill anyone. That he was only written bad by someone wanting to again teach us a lesson about something. In other words, the message the story wants to convey is more important than the reality of the actions, especially keeping in mind they were not real and there were no actual victims here. And so we're allowed to feel sympathy for Anakin because it's not what he did, it's about him choosing to be better and understanding how powerful that choice is that resonates with us regardless of how bad his past transgressions were. I think it's also important to note here that in story, Vader does not receive redemption from anybody but Luke. It's not like if Vader happened to survive, that everyone else in the galaxy forgives him and does anything remotely close to celebrate him and his actions. No, despite killing Palpatine and coming back to the light and receiving the great gift of becoming a Force ghost, Anakin would, at best, spend the rest of his life in a cell if not be executed for all his crimes. And it's also not like Luke forgives absolutely everything Vader has ever done. Not only, again, is this all supposed to be a story that resonates with us, not only is this message about the power of forgiveness and how compassion is more powerful than hate in the end, but another part of the reason why Luke put his faith in his father is because he doesn't want to believe that what happened to Anakin, what happened to him, becoming Vader, falling to the dark side and all that, he doesn't want to believe that has to be his fate too. And yet another interesting dynamic to this, and perhaps another reason why we, the audience, seem to accept Vader's redemption easier than perhaps we should, is because of something that almost comes about by accident due to George Lucas having to do some fixing when he decided to make Vader Luke's father. And thus, at face value, he turned Obi-Wan Kenobi into a liar in the first film when he tells Luke that Vader betrayed and murdered his father. And so what it turns out Kenobi actually meant there is that Anakin fell to the dark side, and from a certain point of view, Anakin was destroyed when that happened, and he was replaced, or he truly became Darth Vader, that he almost literally becomes someone else. Now, obviously, again, going back to the real world, that's not going to work as a legal defense or in a court of law. But you could argue there is a degree of truth to it in the Star Wars galaxy where the Force exists and where the dark side also exists and can influence the actions of someone who has fallen to it. Which I don't say in any way to excuse Anakin's actions while he is Darth Vader. I'm not saying Anakin never did anything wrong and it's all Vader's fault. Only that, yeah, he is, or you could say, he is literally possessed by a dark side force. He has been consumed by evil itself, though his own choices condemned him to that fate. It's very important to point that out, even if you want to argue the Jedi did little or nothing to truly help him and save him from that fate. The final choice was still his. So basically here, I totally get or understand your issues with Anakin's redemption. I agree that one good action does not make up for a lifetime of wrongs, especially when that lifetime was all the horrible things Darth Vader did. And if you really wanted to, you could take this story, change a few things, and partially, if not completely, change the entire message of it. I mean, you could have Vader, or should I say Anakin, live and then spend the rest of his life on the run from the New Republic authorities, trying to help anywhere and everywhere or anyone he could, in order to make up for all the things he had done wrong, knowing there's no way to fully atone for them, but trying nonetheless. You could even have him encounter people who were indirectly or even directly hurt by Darth Vader, or lost loved ones because of him, and how he grapples with all of that. That also could have been a fascinating and worthy end to the story of Anakin Skywalker, for him to have to face all the consequences of his actions, and then maybe, just maybe, when he's an old, broken man who's done all he could with the rest of his life to help as many as he could, the Force Ghosts come to him and teach him the way to become one of them. That's probably earning it a bit more than one good action, as you point out. Well, that's all I got for you this time. Now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell me what you think about this one. Tell me what you think about Vader getting redemption. Does it bother you? Do you think it's right? Is there another way you think this story should have and could have gone, besides one good deed and then becoming a Force Ghost? Either tell me about that, or you can always leave a question for a future lightning response video. Just start your comment off with "Hey Thor" and then fire away. Whatever you choose to do though, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.